My dad, 59M, gave my brother a key to my house because I waste it by sleeping during the day. I'm 26M, air traffic controller on night shift. Update. Now he wants me to sell it and buy a studio apartment appropriate for my lifestyle. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I, 26M, never thought I'd be posting here, but I'm honestly at my wit's end and need some perspective. I work as an air traffic controller at a major airport, specifically the night shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's a demanding job that requires absolute focus. People's lives literally depend on me being alert and well-rested. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I love my work despite the unconventional hours. 6 months ago, I finally saved enough to buy my own house, a modest 3-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood specifically chosen because it's away from main roads and has minimal daytime noise. I installed blackout curtains, soundproofing, and even a white noise system to ensure I can sleep properly during the day. This house is my sanctuary, designed around my work schedule. Here's where the conflict starts. My father, 59M, has always been critical of my career choice. He's old school and believes real jobs happen between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Despite my explanations about the importance of 24/7 air traffic control and my excellent salary, $85,000 annually, he constantly makes comments about how I'm wasting my potential and living like a vampire. Last week, he dropped a bombshell. My brother James, 29M, and his wife Patricia, 27F, are expecting their second child. They currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment and are struggling with space. My father called me and demanded, that I let them use my house during the day since I'm not using it properly during normal hours anyway. His exact words were, "Michael, you sleep all day like some kind of nocturnal creature. That house sits empty and useless while normal people are living their lives. James and Patricia could use it as a daycare space for the kids, maybe even as Patricia's home office. You'd still have it at night when you need it." I was stunned. I tried explaining that I'm not using my house. I'm sleeping, which is essential for my job and health. The house isn't empty during the day. It's serving its primary purpose of providing me a quiet, dark environment to rest. But my father wouldn't hear it. "You chose this lifestyle," he said. "You can't expect the world to revolve around your backward schedule. Family helps family, and right now, James needs help more than you need an empty house during productive hours." I firmly told him no. My house, my rules, my schedule. I explained that having people in my house during my sleep hours would be like someone throwing a party in his bedroom at 2 a.m. He called me selfish and said I was hoarding resources that could benefit the family. Now James is texting me, saying I'm being unreasonable. He argues that they'd be quiet and only use the living room and kitchen, maybe the spare bedroom for the baby to nap. He doesn't understand that even quiet daytime activities, footsteps, talking, kitchen noises, doors opening and closing, would destroy my sleep. My mother, 57F, is trying to stay neutral but keeps making comments about how it would be nice if I could help James out. My sister Jennifer, 24F, is the only one who supports me, pointing out that nobody would ask a night shift nurse or police officer to give up their home during sleep hours. The thing is, I'm starting to doubt myself. I do have 2 spare bedrooms that sit empty. I could theoretically sleep with earplugs or try to adjust my schedule. But something about this whole situation feels fundamentally wrong. I worked hard for this house, specifically set it up for my needs, and now I'm being made to feel guilty for using it the way I need to. Am I the asshole for refusing to compromise my sleep and health for my brother's convenience? Should I be more flexible since I do have the space? Or am I right to maintain boundaries around my home and rest? Update 1. 2 weeks later they started using my house anyway. I can't believe I'm back here so soon, but the situation has escalated dramatically. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your validation helped me feel less crazy, but unfortunately, it didn't help with my family. After I firmly told everyone no, I thought the matter was settled. I even installed a Ring doorbell system to monitor my property and changed my locks just to be safe. I thought I was being paranoid. I wasn't. Last Monday, I came home from my shift at 7:30 a.m., exhausted after dealing with weather delays and multiple emergency landings. I noticed my brother's car in my driveway. My heart sank. I checked my Ring app and saw that he'd arrived at 6:45 a.m. with Patricia and their son Thomas, 3M. I confronted them at my door. James was holding a coffee mug, my coffee mug, and acted like everything was normal. "Oh, hey Michael. We just got here early to beat traffic. Patricia has a Zoom meeting at 9, and Mom said you'd be cool with us using the space since you're going to bed anyway. I was beyond furious but trying to stay calm. I told them to leave immediately. Patricia started crying, saying I was being cruel to a pregnant woman who just needed a quiet place to work. Thomas was already playing with toys in my living room, having clearly been told he was visiting Uncle Michael's funhouse. James tried to guilt me. Come on, bro. We're already here. Thomas was so excited. Just go to sleep. You won't even know we're here. We'll be like mice. I stood my ground and threatened to call the police. They finally left, but not before James called me a selfish prick, and Patricia made a show of gathering Thomas's toys while sobbing about how some people don't understand family. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. I installed extra locks and explicitly told my parents that James was not welcome at my house during my sleep hours. My father called me dramatic and said I was creating unnecessary family drama over nothing. Wednesday, I woke up at 3 p.m. to the sound of a child laughing. In my house. In my house. I stumbled out of my bedroom, disoriented and angry, to find Thomas running through my hallway while Patricia sat in my kitchen working on her laptop. James was on my couch watching TV with the volume low. It wasn't. They'd somehow gotten my spare key from my parents. I completely lost it. I'm not proud of how I yelled, but I was operating on 3 hours of broken sleep before a shift where I'd be responsible for hundreds of lives. I demanded they leave immediately. Patricia tried to argue that they'd been so quiet, and I was overreacting. James said I was being a psycho, and that normal people don't freak out over family visiting. I grabbed my phone and actually called the police. That's when they finally took me seriously. They left before the officers arrived, but I filed a report anyway. The officers were sympathetic, especially when I explained my job. One of them was ex-military and understood the importance of sleep schedules for critical positions. The family explosion was immediate. My phone blew up with texts and calls. My father left a voicemail calling me a disgrace to the family name and saying I'd chosen selfishness over blood. My mother cried on the phone about how she never thought she'd see the day when one son would call the police on another. But here's the kicker. My father then suggested that maybe I should reconsider my living situation, since I'm clearly not equipped to balance family obligations with my unusual lifestyle. He actually said I should look into night worker housing, as if that's a thing, so that my house could be properly utilized by family members who operate during normal society hours. I'm exhausted, angry, and honestly heartbroken. I love my family, but they're treating my career and needs as invalid. I've started looking into restraining orders, which feels insane, but I don't know what else to do. Jennifer has been my rock, pointing out that our parents would never dream of entering James's apartment without permission or suggesting he give up his home because his work schedule is more normal. She's been staying with me on her days off to help me feel safer. I've had to call out sick twice this week because I couldn't get proper sleep. My supervisor is understanding but concerned. This is affecting my career now, which makes me even angrier. To those asking why I don't just move my bedroom to the basement or get a hotel during the day, why should I? This is my house. I shouldn't have to hide in my own home or pay for alternative accommodation because my family refuses to respect my boundaries. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week to discuss my options. I never thought it would come to this, but here we are. Update 2, 1 month later, the restraining order and the family fallout. This update is hard to write. The past month has been a roller coaster of emotions, family drama, and legal proceedings. For those following this mess, buckle up. After the break-in incident, and yes, I'm calling it what it was, I followed through with a lawyer. She was shocked by my family's behavior and immediately recommended filing for a restraining order against James and Patricia. She also suggested changing all locks again and installing a more comprehensive security system, which I did. The restraining order was granted temporarily, pending a full hearing. When James was served, the family meltdown was nuclear. My father showed up at my house at 10 p.m., at least he came during my waking hours, absolutely livid. He stood on my porch, pounding on the door, screaming about how I was destroying the family and betraying everything he taught me about loyalty. I recorded everything through my Ring camera but didn't open the door. He eventually left when I told him I was calling the police, but not before saying something that still haunts me: "You're no son of mine. A real man would provide for his family, not hide behind lawyers and police. Your brother needs help, and you're sleeping your life away like a worthless bum." My mother has been texting me daily, alternating between guilt trips and anger. She sent photos of Thomas crying, claiming he misses his Uncle Michael's house and doesn't understand why he can't visit anymore. As if a 3-year-old naturally developed an attachment to my house after 2 illegal visits. The full restraining order hearing was last week. James and Patricia showed up with a lawyer, paid for by my parents, I learned later. They tried to argue that I had given them implied permission by having a close family relationship, and that my reaction was disproportionate to normal family visits. My lawyer destroyed their argument. She presented the ring footage, the police reports, my work schedule, and even got a statement from my supervisor about how critical proper rest is for air traffic controllers. The judge granted a 1-year restraining order, stating that entering someone's home without permission, regardless of family relationship, is unacceptable and that my work schedule and sleep needs were valid and legally protected. James exploded in court, calling me a traitor and saying I'd regret choosing a job over family. Patricia just cried. As they left, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I hope he's happy alone in his empty house while we struggle." The aftermath has been brutal but revealing. My extended family is split. Some cousins and aunts have reached out privately, saying they understand my position but can't say so publicly without facing my father's wrath. Others have completely cut me off, calling me selfish and saying I've American individualismed my way out of family values. The most painful part? My mother sent me a long email last week. In it, she detailed how James and Patricia are now looking for a house further from the city because they can't afford anything closer. She blamed me for this, saying if I just shared my space, they could have saved money and stayed nearby. She ended with, "I always thought I raised children who would support each other. I guess I only succeeded with James." But here's the thing. I've also received unexpected support. My supervisor connected me with the Air Traffic Controller Union's legal resources. Apparently, discrimination against shift workers is a real issue they deal with. They've offered to help if I face any workplace retaliation or need additional legal support. Several coworkers who've dealt with similar family issues have reached out with support and advice. One told me about how his marriage ended because his ex-wife's family never accepted his night shift schedule and constantly planned family events during his sleep hours, expecting him to just power through. Jennifer has been incredible. She's temporarily moved into one of my spare rooms, with my enthusiastic permission, to help me feel safer and to prove a point to our family. She's been documenting how quiet she is during the day when I sleep and how normal our arrangement is because she respects my schedule. She also revealed something that explains a lot. Apparently, our father has been borrowing money from James for months to cover some bad investments. He promised James he'd figure something out to help with their housing situation. My house was his solution. Give James free access to my space to make up for the money he can't repay. James knew this and went along with it, figuring I'd cave to family pressure. I'm now in therapy to deal with the grief of losing most of my family over this. My therapist specializes in shift workers and family dynamics. She's helped me understand that my family's inability to respect my boundaries isn't about my schedule. It's about control and their refusal to see me as an independent adult with valid choices. I've also joined an online support group for night shift workers. The stories I've heard make me realize how common this discrimination is. From nurses whose families schedule every holiday dinner at 2 p.m. despite their protests, to security guards whose spouses' families call them lazy for sleeping during the day, it's a widespread issue that nobody talks about. As for my house, it's peaceful again. I sleep soundly from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I've upgraded my blackout curtains and added some plants that thrive in low-light conditions. Jennifer and I have movie nights when our schedules align. It's becoming the sanctuary I always intended it to be. I'm not giving up on all my family relationships, but I'm done compromising my health, safety, and career for people who refuse to respect my choices. If that makes me selfish in their eyes, so be it. Final update, 3 months later, the suggestion and my decision. This will be my final update on this situation. I've debated whether to share this, but I think it's important for others who might face similar discrimination to see how these stories can end. 3 months have passed since the restraining order, and life had actually started to feel normal again. I've been sleeping well, excelling at work, even got a commendation for handling a complex emergency landing sequence, and Jennifer and I have developed a great roommate situation. She works in marketing with standard hours but is incredibly respectful of my schedule. We've even started a Sunday night dinner tradition, breakfast for me, dinner for her. That's become the highlight of my week. Then, last week, my father reached out through my Aunt Susan. He wanted to meet for a peaceful discussion about the future. Against my better judgment and therapist's advice, I agreed. We met at a neutral location, a 24-hour diner at 9 p.m., during my normal waking hours. My father looked older, tired. For a moment, I hoped he'd come to apologize, to understand. That hope died quickly. He started with small talk, asking about work and the house. Then he slid a printed packet across the table. "I've done some research," he said. "There are housing options better suited for people with your lifestyle." The packet contained listings for studio apartments near the airport, articles about pod hotels for shift workers in Japan, and even information about communal living spaces for night shift employees. He'd highlighted sections about maximizing urban space efficiency and appropriate housing for non-traditional workers. "Michael," he said, using his reasonable voice, "I understand you're committed to this career path. But it's selfish to occupy a family-sized home when you're unconscious for the prime usage hours. These options would suit your needs while freeing up your house for James's growing family." I stared at him, genuinely speechless. He took my silence as consideration and continued. "I've spoken to a realtor. You could sell your house for a good profit, help James with a down payment, and still have enough for a nice apartment near the airport. Everyone wins. You get to keep your vampire hours, James gets a family home, and you stop being the selfish brother who hoards resources." I found my voice. "You want me to sell my house, that I worked for, that I bought specifically for my needs, to subsidize James's life because you can't pay him back the money you borrowed?" His face went red. "That has nothing to do with—" "Jennifer told me everything," I interrupted. "About the money, about your promises to James, about how my house was your solution to your financial mistakes." He slammed his hand on the table. "Children help their parents. Family helps family. Your generation thinks everything is about individual rights and personal boundaries. What about family obligations? What about honor? What about respect?" I shot back. "What about the honor in accepting your children as they are? I save lives, Dad. Every night, I guide planes carrying hundreds of people safely to the ground. But because I do it at night, I'm worthless to you." He leaned back, his expression cold. "You're not worthless. You're selfish. There's a difference." That's when I knew we were done. Not just with this conversation, but with any hope of a relationship. I stood up. "I'm keeping my house. I'm keeping my job. I'm keeping my schedule. And I'm keeping the family members who actually respect me as a person, not as a resource to be managed." "If you walk away from this table," he said quietly, "you're walking away from this family." "No," I replied. "This family walked away from me the moment you decided my life was less valid because it doesn't fit your 9 to 5 worldview." I left. The aftermath was swift. My mother called crying, begging me to reconsider. James sent a text saying I'd chosen money over blood, and that he hoped I enjoyed my empty castle. Various relatives chimed in with their opinions, most siding with my parents. But here's the beautiful thing. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Jennifer and I have grown closer than ever. She's decided to stay as my roommate permanently, and we're turning the third bedroom into a shared workspace. She uses it during the day, I use it at night. We've hosted dinner parties for my night shift friends and her day shift friends, creating this wonderful blended community that respects all schedules. My supervisor nominated me for an advanced training program that could lead to a senior controller position. The pay increase would be substantial, and the schedule would remain night-focused, which I prefer. I'm thriving professionally in a way I never could if I were sleep-deprived and stressed. I've also started dating Patricia, different Patricia, and yes, the irony isn't lost on me, a night shift ICU nurse who understands the life. She laughed when I told her this whole saga, then shared her own stories of family members who thought she should switch to normal nursing hours. We go on 3 a.m. dates and watch sunrises together. It's wonderful. The house has become everything I dreamed it would be. I've installed smart home technology that automatically adjusts lighting and temperature for my schedule. The garden is full of night-blooming flowers that I tend under the stars. I've even set up a small telescope on the deck for my lunch breaks at 3 a.m. I've made peace with losing most of my biological family. It hurts, especially during holidays, but I've learned that chosen family can be just as meaningful. My night shift community has become my support system. We celebrate holidays on our own schedule, Thanksgiving dinner at midnight, Christmas morning at 8 p.m. It works for us. To anyone reading this who works non-traditional hours and faces family pressure, your schedule is valid. Your career is valid. Your need for sleep during productive hours is valid. You're not selfish for organizing your life around your work requirements. You're not wasting your home by sleeping in it during the day. You're not obligated to sacrifice your health and career for family members who refuse to respect your choices. Sometimes the price of peace is letting go of people who will never see your worth. It's painful, but living authentically is worth more than maintaining relationships that require you to be less than you are. My name is Michael. I'm an air traffic controller. I sleep during the day and work at night. I own a beautiful home that serves my needs perfectly. And despite what my father believes, I am using my life and my resources exactly as they should be used, in a way that allows me to thrive, contribute to society, and find happiness. The sun is setting now. Time for me to get ready for work, where I'll spend the night making sure thousands of people get home safely to their families. Even if my own family doesn't appreciate it, I know the value of what I do. And that's enough.